Today I'm going to the Windrush Square in Brixton because there is a vigil that's going on there. So I want to get there and say a prayer. I'm going to get off at Oxford Circus, and then I'm going to catch the Victoria line straight to Brixton. Just got on the train and I'm on my way to Oxford Circus. There's been a message on the tannoy that the train is not going any further than White City because of engineering works. So I've had to get off at White City, and I'm gonna have to find another way to get to Brixton. I spoke to one of the staff personnel, and they said to me that in order for me to get to Brixton, I need to get on at another station just not too far from here, the Wood Lane train station, and then pick up the train to King's Cross, and then from King's Cross catch the Victoria line straight to Brixton.
Mind the gap.
The train has just arrived at Ladbroke Grove. Oh, it's just departing from Ladbroke Grove. Oh. And this is where they have the carnival once a year, and at the end of August on the bank holiday. Now I'm just traveling down the escalators and I'm going towards the Victoria. Okay, so there's a train going to Brixton and it is approaching now. Here it comes. So I've just arrived at Brixton train station, and I'm here looking at the map to find out where I need to go. So I need to get to Afro Road, and here it is on the map, and that is where the Windrush Square is. On the perimeters of the Windrush Square, and I'm just taking a quick videotape of Brixton so I have it for my memories, because I don't get down here often. Ooh, look at that, there's some shoes up on the wires. There's a Kentucky Fried Chicken here. There's the Ritzy bar over there. Ritzy Bar Cinema. Big old tree there. It is such a beautiful view. This is the Windrush Square notice board, but there doesn't seem to be any activities or events going on right now. So there's the Windrush Memorial over there in the Windrush Square. I will go down there shortly, but I'm trying to make my way around so I can see other displays in the square. I love this wall art. It says Brilliant Black British History, and it's from, I think it's on the walls of the Black Cultural Archives, so that's somewhere else I like to go and visit. There's a large gathering of people who are waiting for the opening. Oh, it started! Sorry. This is the 6th anniversary. Thank you. I've just been handed this leaflet.
If you're able to.
So now they've just placed the flower on the memorial, the Windrush Memorial, and now they are lighting little candles. Here. And so if you look behind on the memorial, these are all the flags of the Caribbean countries. And there's so many of them that belong to the Commonwealth. Ooh. I think they're having problems with the candles because the wind keeps blowing them out.
And welcome to Windrush Square, and welcome to the second anniversary of, the second Windrush National Vigil, as we commemorate the 6th anniversary of the exposing of the Windrush Scandal. We are here in Windrush Square, outside the Black Cultural Archives, and in an area that we consider to be the spiritual home of the Windrush generation here in Brixton. The purpose of today is to remember and commemorate the memories of those who have not made it through the journey of the injustices which we have been subjected to by the hostile environment. In addition, to give thanks for the resilience of our elders who paved the way, and praying for empowerment of those who are fighting for justice for the Windrush generation and their descendants. Today we welcome you and thank you for joining us as we continue seeking justice for a level playing field for the Windrush generation and descendants. We're here as well to ensure that the Windrush scandal and the fallout from it is never forgotten. But remember one thing, the Windrush generation does not define who we are as a people. The Windrush Scandal actually defines who the perpetrators are, who have oppressed us for a number of years. And as a bishop, I'm joined by fellow bishops and clergy today. Today is a very special day because you're not just going to hear from campaigners, you are going to hear from the clergy as well, apart from me, which is good because it's important that we create that unified voice in seeking justice for the Windrush generation. And it is important as well that we ensure that the journey continues for justice. I'm Bishop Dr. Desmond Jadu, Chair of the Windrush National Organisation, and it's my privilege to be working with the people there in the programme to plan today. You've already been given the housekeeping. We know that 50 plus people have not made it through the journey, and we are here today to remember them. We're here to remember as well our elders, and their contribution and what has happened to them must never be in vain, as we have to stand up for what is right. So at this time, I'm just going to ask you to bow your heads as we open in prayer. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for enabling us to gather together today as we remember, commemorate and give thanks for the Windrush generation and descendants. As today we'll remember those who did not make it through the journey, we ask you to bless today's proceedings by constant reminding us of who we are and why we are here. Let your light shine upon today and bless this vigil. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we're going to go straight into our program today, and I'll be calling our speakers in batches of threes.
Oh, I thought I was somewhere else for a hot minute. Right. I consider this a great honour to be here, and welcome to Windrush Square. And I am the chair of Friends of Windrush, and it's a coalition of residents, community leaders, community organisations that's come together to maintain the heritage and the culture of this square. I remember 26 years ago, this square was called Tate Gardens. How many of you remember it called Tate Gardens? Right. So 26 years, it changed its name, and it was one of the proudest moments in the history of Brixton to actually have a space that is in recognition of the Windrush generation. 26 years ago, there was no Black Culture Archives, there was no Cherry Gross Memorial, and there certainly was no African Caribbean Memorial. So we've come a long way. There is definitely more work to be done, and with everyone coming together, working together to continue to build on this legacy, we can achieve great things. There are 3 other spaces and places that are linked to the Windrush generation. So behind me, you is the London Borough of Lambeth Town Hall, and in the foyer is a plaque. How many of you know that there's a plaque inside the foyer that's dedicated to the Windrush generation? Then we have in the north of the borough, there is a monument in the station. Then we have Clapham South, the underground shelters, where some of the Windrush generation stayed there in the late 40s. How many of you knew that? Right, so this is a special borough, it's the Windrush borough, agreed?
Yeah.
Right, so we're here in this space standing on, I would say it's quite sacrilege, you know, because I've been here where there's been many campaigns, many speeches, and I'm glad to be here because who I am today is because of that generation. I can say what they were not able to say. I can do what they were not able to do. That generation were called pioneers in my view. They paved the way. They produced leaders, they produced barristers, lawyers, activists, they produced doctors, politicians. Wherever you look in Brixton, Lambeth, you see the legacy in London and indeed up and down the country. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So why we are gathered here is not just to acknowledge the accolades and the accomplishments, but also to reflect on the pain, the struggle, the sacrifices. And we all have a purpose to continue that legacy. I'm first generation. My parents came in the 60s. I was born in the London Borough of Lambeth and made in Brixton. So as far as I'm concerned, I am here because I have a duty, and I've always known my purpose. And that is to continue the legacy and to pass that legacy on to the next generation, so nobody will ever forget what they contributed. And let's not get comfortable with what we've achieved. Let's be make others uncomfortable with the fact that we are still in pursuit of justice for that generation, for their contribution. Okay? So let us not be weary in coming forward and saying what needs to be said. We're not happy that the fact is that they have not received the compensation that they're due. You've gone silent. Right? So at the end of the day, we must remember who we are today, especially those of you like myself who are first generation, that if it wasn't for their sacrifices, that they were not going to take no nonsense from nobody. In spite of being invited to this country, they were met with hostility. They achieved what they achieved in spite of. We're here because we want to reflect on their achievements and stand for them. Be the voice for the voiceless. Give power to the powerless. Okay? So I am who I am because of them. I stand on great shoulders. I am proud of what I am today, and I'm continue to inspire the next generation. Thank you, and let's just give the next speaker a big round of applause. Who's next?
We're here because I think it's really important, and it's great that we're now having a second year event, and this will be an annual event. We see that the Black Cultural Archives are here, front and centre of the involvement. I started campaigning through the organisation I co-founded in the National Chair of Barrack UK. You can see our banner there, on the Windrush Scandal, before it was called that, back in 2012. When there was legislation being introduced, immigration legislation, we were warning that that was going to have this impact on the Windrush generation. It's been a long journey, and now there are many, many more people campaigning. All of the organisations that have organised this vigil, I pay tribute to them for the work that they've been doing and working tirelessly on behalf of the Windrush generation and against the Windrush Scandal and for Windrush compensation. And many people that are here today are part of that campaign and that journey. My mother came to the UK from Trinidad in the 1960s, early 1960s. And I grew up in this area. I went to school at Kingsdale down the road. My mum had a market stall in Brixton Market. So this is very much my home ground, even though I don't live in the area anymore. It's where I grew up. It's where I learned a lot. It's where I embrace my culture and always feel totally at home, even though it's been gentrified in that time when I come back to Brixton. As has already been mentioned, the campaign for Windrush justice is not over. We're still continuing that. So whilst we should celebrate what my parents' generation have achieved, what the Windrush generation have achieved, what they've contributed to British society, we mustn't give up the fight. And it's not just the Windrush generation. It's the descendants of Windrush, it's us, our children, our grandchildren who are impacted. Every day I'm dealing with campaigns and supporting families whose loved ones are being targeted for detention or deportation, who are the descendants of Windrush, who are from migrant families who are here because Britain was there, and we shouldn't forget that either. In terms of the legacies of colonialism and enslavement, the reason why we came to the UK, why we were invited here to help the country recover. I'm going to stop talking now because I'm probably going to run out of time, and I want to share a poem with you. Yeah, I'm being warned that I'm running over. I do quickly want to mention, in the courtyard there, I'm so proud that my globe for the World Reimagined is there, and would invite you please to go and have a look at the globe, because I pay tribute to the Windrush generation in that globe, and really grateful to BCA that it's now a permanent home for my globe. And I'm going to share
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa. A poem that I wrote paying tribute to the Windrush generation. Actually, it's an older poem that I wrote way before actually we had what became known as the Windrush Scandal. It's called Redefining History. Our parents, our grandparents,
The flowers have
came
just
to
fallen
this
off
country,
the memorial,
and in half
and
a century,
it just frightens me a bit.
redefined
Sorry.
Britain's history. Arriving by ship enthusiastically, we were greeted by the mist and the grey of the sea. The bitter cold of the winter season was nothing compared to the ice-cold, freezing attitude of those in this country, full of hatred and hostility. Greeted by signs of keep Britain white, we'd come unprepared for a fight. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish. We had to always watch our backs. We were told this was the mother country. What mother uses terms that are derogatory? What kind of mother rejects and sets out to inject a sense of worthlessness within the child she should caress? For 50 years we've struggled and fought, sometimes defiant, sometimes distraught, to make a place and be accepted as young or old and black and gifted. And look what we've achieved despite having to live aggrieved. We built and developed the NHS, made London transport one of the best, established a carnival while we were oppressed that's now renowned as Europe's largest. Facing fascism and humiliation, tackling racism and discrimination. Just look what we've achieved despite having to live aggrieved. We excelled within this land that refused a helping hand, in spreading the word of the Holy Scriptures, in trade unions and in literature, in sports and politics, in broadcasting and music. We helped empower this nation. Despite the fact we were deceived, we came and we achieved. We, our parents, our grandparents came to this country and in half a century redefined Britain's history. Redefined Britain's history.
Yeah! Big up, yes! I like that poem.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's such a pleasure to see so many people turn out for this. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, community members, and all who stand with us in solidarity. Today we gather to mark a poignant milestone, the 6th anniversary of the Windrush Scandal. A chapter in our collective history that remains a testament to the resilience in the face of systemic failures. At Black Cultural Archives, we are committed to preserving the narratives of African and African Caribbean people, and it is our duty and honour to ensure that the stories of the Windrush generation are not just remembered, but also serve as a catalyst for justice and change. Black Cultural Archives wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Windrush generation. Many of those people actually founded Black Cultural Archives, and I myself am a descendant of the Windrush generation, so I take this responsibility very seriously. 6 years ago, the Windrush Scandal unveiled the depth of institutional oversights and the profound impact of immigration policies that failed to recognise the legal rights and contributions of thousands of individuals and families. These are people who answered the call to help and rebuild post-war Britain and pursue a better life in the motherland, only to be met with uncertainty, injustice and neglect decades later. Their plight led bare to the urgent need for recognition, reparation and the safeguarding of rights for all migrants and their descendants. This is a charge that continues today. We stand on the precipice of possible change, fueled by the unwavering spirit of the Windrush generation and their descendants, and all supporting people. Their resilience, our resilience in the face of ongoing adversity, is our beacon of hope and a call to action. It reminds us that the path to justice is long and fraught with challenges, but it is a journey we must take with determination and unity. The acknowledgement of the Windrush Scandal is not just about looking back, it's about looking forwards with the lessons we have learned to ensure that history does not repeat itself. It is about creating a society that values everybody, respects the rights of all its members, and recognises the contributions of those who have helped to shape it. As we commemorate this anniversary, let us reaffirm our commitment to the ongoing struggle for justice for the victims of the Windrush Scandal. Let us pledge our support for all the initiatives that have been mentioned today to rectify the wrongs of the past and build a foundation for the future where such injustices are unthinkable. Our work is continuing, and the Black Cultural Archives remains dedicated to documenting, sharing, and advocating for the stories of the rights of the people of the Windrush generation, their descendants, and all who seek justice and recognition. In closing, I urge each of us to join in this endeavour. Many of us are here for that reason. Support for the victims, their families, is critical. We must engage with their stories and contribute to the collective effort to ensure that justice prevails. Together, I believe we can turn the tide of history and build a legacy of equality, respect, and dignity for generations to come. Thank you.
Yep. Well said.
Justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice. Come on, people. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no health conditions. And there needs to be a rapid response to make sure that the NHS meets the needs of the survivors. There is much more to do around housing, and more importantly, building on the work of the Black Culture Archives. We need to make sure that the history of the Windrush generation is embedded in national curriculum, and it's embedded in the nation, because the scandal itself is a stain on everyone. But more importantly, we're survivors, we have resilience, and we have to continue. So thank you everyone today.
6th anniversary of the Windrush Scandal, but it's not really the 6th anniversary. It's only the 6th anniversary of it coming to the notice of the public, because for decades, those of us, particularly in immigration practice, were seeing issues of Caribbean elders in particular, though not exclusively, facing problems with the Home Office not being able to prove their status and losing jobs, etc. But even if we go back beyond the changes in legislation which caused that, and caused that deliberately, because remember, the hostile environment policy is a deliberate policy. It's not a vernacular, it's not a phrase that we've coined. It was a deliberate policy of a series of rules and policies and legislations which actually ended up affecting black people disproportionately. But before that, we know with the arrival of the boat that politicians, and there was a Labour government at the time, actually the reason why we celebrate Windrush Day on the 22nd of June and not the 21st when the boat came was because there was consideration being given as to whether our elders should be allowed off that boat. And 11 Labour MPs wrote to Clement Attlee and said that they shouldn't because it would sow disharmony and discord. And he didn't automatically say, oh, stop the nonsense. He actually gave consideration to what they were saying. And so they disembarked a day later. And that's the start of the hostile environment. Of course, we can go back centuries to the real start of it. The creation of white supremacy, the creation of racism. But in terms of our contemporary experiences, we've got to go back and look at how is it that our ancestors, because so many of that first generation of the Windrush have died, came here to help build this country, bought tickets to come here, came as free men and women, and we actually had a Labour Prime Minister consider turning that boat around with them on it and sending them to East Africa to work on a peanut plantation. That's our starting point. And since then, we have continued to suffer disproportionately. We suffer it in education, we suffer it in housing, we suffer it in gaining access to finance for opportunities, in healthcare, in the criminal justice system, and in almost everything we can think of. So it's, well, I mean, you know, in one way, because as a lawyer, we have quite a lot of success with the Windrush compensation scheme. And so constantly hearing about it to me skews the debate about the real experiences of black people in Britain today. And we see a move to the right in all of our politicians.
that will affect us and affect us disproportionately. So when we're talking about Windrush, we must be measured and realise it is only one thing that is happening to our community. There is so much more, and there is an election coming, and I haven't heard much from any of the politicians that suggest to me that our position is going to be improved in any way. But we must use this opportunity now with the local elections to make a call on the politicians. You know, we're all writing on Twitter and we're all going on, well, the Windrush compensation scheme is bad, and we don't, half the people saying that don't even know what they're talking about. We need to inform ourselves with the facts. We need more scholarship in this area, and we need to be more combative. I think we're quite meek, and because of that, the ruling classes are doing to us what they can get away with. So we need to call on the mayor and the mayoral candidates. We need to call upon the candidates who will not too long from now participate in the general election. And we need to make our demands. And those demands are for the benefit of the Windrush community and their descendants, but it's for all of us, because we are all hurting, all of society, all of community, and we need to work together. The black community has allies, but many white working people are suffering. We have terrible governments, we have terrible representatives, and we must talk about the Windrush struggle in the context of that and in the context of needing change. The Home Office has hundreds of estate claims. An estate claim is for somebody who has died. So I think the figure is much higher than we've ever countenanced. But what we must also consider is how many people in our community are victims of the Windrush Scandal and don't know it. And I want to just finish by making a call to all of you today to increase your outreach and your engagement into your communities, in your neighbourhoods, in any centre of influence, your churches. Make the call, because so far just over 2,000 people have had compensation. And that is a good thing to raise awareness, because awareness is not being properly raised.
As a campaigner and as a victim, but I learned a lot about my generation went through a lot, injustices with police, sub-educational normal schools, so much more. But I was fortunate enough to meet three great people, and I have to say, Darcus Howe, John LaRose,
Yes.
and there was a lawyer that used to be in Brixton, and he was a lord. Mr. Lynch, I don't know if anybody knew him, but those three taught me a lot, because I remember when they started the Black Parents movement in Hackney, and that was at my mum's house, and I thought, oh, these people are great. God, they're talking. And I think that's why I was so, even at work and at school, if there was anything, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stand up and I'm going, and that's what I intend to do now. So maybe this was my path, what God had put me through, for me to go through this, in order for me to help the people who have suffered through this whole scandal. And we are intending to carry on. I'm grateful to be part of the Windrush National Organisation. I'm grateful to Age UK for helping us to go through. I'm grateful to all the other organisations who, and even some of the media, who is making this public to know. But we need your help. Just like Jackie said, we need you to let the people who have been affected come forward. Please reach out. I'm approachable. I'm on every social media platform there is. So you can send me a message, and I'm there to make sure that we get justice for the people. I'm not going to go over my 3 minutes because I haven't got the voice to do that. But we appreciate your help, and thank you so much. And please remember those who are not here with us now, and that's why we are doing this vigil for those. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Windrush National, and I belong to a lot of organisations like the Mary Seacole, Nurses Association of Jamaica. I'll stop there because time's against us. I am reading a poem from my friend. She lives in South London and many of you may know her. Her name is Doreen Mackenzie. And she wrote this poem especially for today. It was 6 long years ago that Britain made it clear that you didn't belong. 6 years since the Home Office selected to enforce their wicked plan. You were given an impossible task of furnishing evidence of your many decades spent in this country. And should you fail, you ran the risk of being deported secretly after spending decades toiling and building up this so-called motherland. Successive Home Secretaries have continued to make sure that their wishes are carried out. Dawn raids and incarceration in detention centres were whispered about, snatched from the streets and even snatched from your beds. Many people lived in fear and dread because no one had any idea if or when this nightmare would end. Whilst documents for other immigrants were properly secured, for people of the Windrush generation, this was definitely not the score. Sneaked out of detention centres and put on aeroplanes in the dead of night was the reality for some unsuspecting individuals who were forced onto deportation flights. Deported to islands many of you only heard about but didn't know, added to the trauma of not just losing your liberties, your jobs, and ultimately your homes. The question must be asked as to what prompted the British government to make things so impossible for you. My guess is that it's something to do with your melanin and your hue. Dear pioneers of the Windrush generation, our admiration and gratitude to you is wholehearted and will never be thwarted. You've paved the way with resilience and fortitude for future generations, who partly through the British government Windrush Scandal have come to understand your indomitable spirit in the face of blatant discrimination. So please rest assured that your many sacrifices will not be in vain. We will continue to fight on to ensure that the recommendations made in 2020 will be implemented and retained. So far, only 8 out of 30 recommendations have been honoured and acted upon. But fear not, dear Windrush generation, do not be downhearted. We will continue to fight for justice for those of you who are still with us, and also for those of you who have since departed. 6 long years ago, this injustice, which was secretly hatched and planned, was brought to fruition as you were denied healthcare, your home, and in some cases, even your hard-earned pension. As we light candles in your memory and thank you for being inspiration and for your vision, we vow not to give up campaigning for you to retain your rightful place as trailblazers in this ungrateful island. You have fully undoubtedly established the very strong ties that bind. By your example of stoicism and humility, selflessness and the pioneering spirit you left behind. Dear malignant people of the Windrush generation, on whose shoulders successive generations stand, through this Windrush Vigil, we pledge that your light will continue to shine. Thank you very much.
So I'm now outside this war memorial, and I've tried to light the candles down here, but I'm having problems lighting the candle. It seems as if the wind keeps blowing the candles out. So there's not much I can do about that. Someone has managed to get the candle lit over there. But she has to she's covering it with her hand just to make sure the wind doesn't blow it out. And I have managed to get a few photographs of the war memorial. quite a few really interesting speakers up there today. People are making their way into the Cultural Archives Center. They got some food laid on. Let's see if I can get a video of the people that have attended this gathering.
He's a famous person. I love to see them. Oh,
Thank
you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I sing too, and I do Miss Lou too. So we need to link up too.
That's good. Yeah. So there's someone's just been at the gathering about the Windrush Scandal. I am now outside the Black Cultural Archives, and I'm just going in so I can take a video shot of this globe. I'm inside the Cultural Archives right now, and they've got selections of photos, and there's a seating area down there, and they've got some books over here for young people to read. I had a really nice day today. So I'm outside Brixton train station and I'm getting ready to go. I had a fabulous time today at the Windrush Memorial, the Windrush Scandal Vigil.